Hi, I'm Brian, and I'm 30 years old, and I'm basically starting over. Over a year ago, I made the difficult decision of dropping out of law school due to kind of several reasons. Long story short, I realized that it wasn't for me, and I didn't really want to become a lawyer. And if I wanted to continue with a degree, I would have had to do or take a lot of sacrifices that just weren't worth it for me anymore. So I decided to leave law school. I ended up being really lost, scared of what I was going to do because I had left a stable job and I didn't know how I was going to pay rent because I had been independent so many years. And becoming an attorney to me meant that I was going to have financial stability. And that dream that I had was just gone. And I really didn't know what to do with all that time and energy and sacrifice that I had dedicated to this career that I was no longer pursuing. And it was a really difficult time. It was not easy. And at that time, I really tried to kind of like evaluate my life and my situation and where I was at and really try to consider like where do I go now? Like what can I do with the experience that I've gained and my bachelor's? Um, but honestly, like what makes me happy because I don't want to repeat this again. And I kind of had to be really honest with myself of like kind of the things that I was achieving, kind of like being promoted, buying a car, um, like getting into law school, which was a major one, didn't make me happy anymore. Like I remember when I got into law school, I was happy, but for like a moment. But it automatically just became like this thing of like, oh, another thing I get to check off. Now move on to the next thing, and everything was just so expected, and I just felt like I wasn't living, and I felt like I was like some robot, just kind of going through the motions and just okay, like this is what is kind of like successful and I'm somewhat succeeding in my goals that I had kind of like put on to myself. And I made a lot of sacrifices. Like during that time, I sacrificed a lot of my time and I limited my time with family and friends and I prioritized my career because to me that short sacrifice was gonna pay in the long run, right? Like in when I'm like older and I'm like 50 or 60, then I'll be okay because I put in the work. I dedicated my whole 20s to really trying to further my education, to try to find a stable job. And I think the way that I was thinking was very calculated. And I leaned a lot into kind of what's the smartest choice for me, what's the most beneficial kind of choice that I can make that I have no risk. So I didn't take any chances. And I didn't really realize it at the time, but it kind of like slowly started to kind of eat away at me, like little by little. And like I understand where kind of like this kind of mentality comes from and kind of these expectations. It's because I don't come from money. Like my parents were like the first generation here, like I'm the firstborn generation here. The automatic expectation is that you have to do better than your parents because you were born here, like get a degree, like further education, and then that will guarantee success, and that way you don't have to struggle when you're older. And those are real concerns and very valid points. But it does kind of end up kind of eating away at you. And to me, that's what becoming an attorney was, right? Like it brought financial stability, but it also kind of brought kind of like the opportunity to give back to people and have a positive impact. And that's why I really wanted to go to law school, because especially in school, like when things were hard, I was like, I don't care about getting a job or whatever. But then like it'd be like, okay, well at least I'll have an impact, and then I have to do this for like my community, or I have to do this for to help people, or and then they would kind of turn, right? Like that's kind of like what would push me off like a little bit just to keep going. And yeah, like I also believe that the job was going to give me more freedom and mobility in my career. I thought that becoming an attorney would have opened a lot of doors for me. It would have made it easier to move from one job to another, because you basically have a JD degree, which in my head, I'm not sure if I'm completely right, but it would have opened a lot of more doors. However, because I decided to leave this dream that I had dedicated so much time in my life, I really had to think of how I can use the skills that I gained and all the experience, and how can I use that to find like a stable job, but also a job that I'm happy with, which would be kind of to give back. And I guess for me, like the question of finding fulfillment really wasn't tied to a job. It was more tied to like what type of impact can you have on society, and can you have a positive influence on society. And that's kind of like led me to where I am today. So over a year and a half, I think at this point, after dropping out of law school, I'm still figuring it out. I know that my goal is kind of to have a positive impact. I still don't know what job that will be, but I'm okay with not knowing yet. I think I still have some time. I enrolled in a master's program, so I'm studying public administration. I'm also working a part time job. I have no interest in kind of getting back into the legal field at the moment, but who knows? I'm still open. And it has been difficult. Like, it hasn't been like an easy kind of transition to kind of changing my career. But I think kind of turning 30, it was hard, because like I'm nowhere near financially um, where I wanted to be, or career wise, or even like physically, because I've had some like health issues and stuff. And I mean, it's kind of hard to not feel like a failure and kind of feel like a disappointment. And like I've seen a couple people, like in a couple videos, talk about their situation, and like it's hard. It's really hard, and it's kind of difficult to not feel like a failure, like you're disappointing your family or yourself. And I think it can feel lonely, and at times I feel defeated, I guess, just by the world. But honestly, like I don't really regret dropping out of law school, because I mean, I regret the debt. Like the debt, it's a lot, and I do hate that, and student loans. But I don't regret leaving, because I know that I would have been so miserable, and I would have been so unhappy. And in a weird way, like I feel like I'm actually finally kind of living, because everything is so unexpected. And I mean, that's kind of what I wanted. Like, I didn't want to know what every achievement was going to be. And yeah, like, I'm just, like, I feel better where I'm at. It's difficult to talk about it, but I definitely feel like I don't regret it. Like, the only thing is that now I'm kind of just a little bit lost. And I think that's fine. And that's what I'm kind of try to do, just try to rediscover myself and really try to like find what I enjoy because most of my 20s were just very career focused. And because of this, I really wanted to make this video because I think it's important to share like our struggles. I think it's helpful like to see others kind of talk about what challenges they're facing. Like I know for me, when I've seen videos of people kind of dealing with like similar things of like starting over, it has made me feel better, not feel so alone. Like I know it's a very lonely journey to start over and it can be embarrassing, especially because everyone only talks about like the positive things in life, like their achievements, and especially on social media, and that could create like this kind of fake illusion that no one's struggling, right? That everybody's like living their best life. And obviously that's not true. And if you're kind of in the similar situation and you're kind of struggling, like I just hope that you can take something positive out of this video and hopefully at the bare minimum not feel so alone. Also for me, um, I have always wanted to post on YouTube, probably since I was a kid. However, I have always been too shy and too awkward and honestly just like too scared of like what can happen. And I think I did consider it when I was working a full time. And I was honestly just like really scared of not being taken seriously by like future employers or like, will I get fired? Or honestly, right now, like my part time, but I hope it's not an issue. And I think like now that I turned 30, I'm really trying to not let like fear consume me and limit me. Like I'm really trying to take little steps out of my comfort zone, kind of like making this video, just to kind of push and live a little bit more. And I think I'm kind of going to use this YouTube channel to kind of post things kind of like talking about my experiences, and hopefully it can be helpful for someone. And I don't know, just bring you along in my journey while I try to start over and rediscover myself and rediscover things that I like enjoy. If anything in this video was actually in any ways helpful, I'd really love to hear it. I'm thinking of making a video about maybe like my law school experience and finding out that I had ADHD while I was in school. So just let me know if that sounds interesting. And if you watched this far, thank you so much for watching. And I guess I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day. Bye.